Hi there, welcome to this build of a 40-inch wingspan Keil Kraft Gypsy. Now this is a lovely weight fill model that was designed by Braiding in 1949. And if you've seen the previous videos, you'll know we've got all of the skeleton of this plane done. We've got the wings covered, we've got the tailplane and rudder fin assembly hanging up on the wall there, ready to be covered. And what I want to do in this video is work on the rubber motor and the propeller and the nose block. Now we're building this kit, or we're building this from a Ripmax kit, which I've had quite a lot of issues with, and I'm looking forward to doing a review of the kit at the end, and I've spoken about some of the issues in the previous videos. So I'm only going to say one thing about it at the moment. Another issue with the kit, there has been many, is that they give us the instructions, which is for the preparation of the rubber motor, which is fine. It all looks sensible, good information, until you actually take the piece of rubber that was supplied with the kit and find out that it's only about 2/3 the length that you actually need to comply with the instructions. So essentially the rubber they supply in the kit is just another thing in the catalogue of errors that is this Ripmax Gypsy kit. So again, as I've done with downloading the plans off AutoZone, because the original ones weren't very good, I've put some of my own balsa into it, various different things. So along that vein, I bought some nice, decent rubber that I bought from Free Flight Supplies, Mike Woodhouse at Free Flight Supplies. I'm really pleased with the service and the stuff I get from Mike. And there'll be a link in the description below this video showing his website. So, grumbling aside, just another thing, what we're going to do is we're going to work, as I said, on the rubber and the nose block. And we're going to do the nose block first. And I'll just come around here and show you this. This is a piece of balsa that came with the kit for the nose block, which is fine. And I put on a laser cut piece on the back, or two pieces actually. It's plywood, I think that's 1mm ply, and there's another piece there. And that will actually fit in the nose of the plane like that. So that's good so far. And using the plans, the AutoZone plans, because they're the correct size, I've taken the plan view and the side profile, and I've drawn that on the block. I've also drawn a center point. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this on my bench drill. I'm going to drill that center hole, get it nice and square. I'm then going to remove the excess balsa from around the sides here that we don't need. Now once we've done that, what we can do is then we can just round off the corners, and that should give us a nice nose block. It's the same kind of principle whether you're doing a wing tip or a nose on a plane. So I will get that done. I've got a razor saw somewhere to take off the bulk, and we need to be very careful with that. Sand it to those profiles, and then we'll get that cleaned up. Once we've done that, I'm going to, we'll come back and have a look at that, and I'll talk about what we're going to do next. But it is worth just saying that I've done a kind of a stooge or a setup on the bench here, which is going to mimic the fuselage. I don't want to keep messing around with the fuselage. So what I've done is, I think you can just see this in camera, I've got a piece of plywood here, and I've cut out the hole the same size as in the front of the fuselage, to which the nose block will fit in. I'm then going to clamp this to the bench so that this is the exact distance that we've got between the rear peg on the fuselage and the nose block. And once we've got that set up, we can make up the motor, make sure it's the right length, and test it. We can run it in, and we're doing that without, like I say, fiddling around with the fuselage, where we could cause some damage if we're not careful. So anyway, I'll get this nose block made up and then we'll come back and have a look. Okay, I've been cracking on with this nose block now. You can see I've got that shaped up, and I've got a big hole in the front because that will fit the a nylon nose block. I don't know what it's called. I've also made up a piece of wire that goes through to the prop, so we're going to have the prop on the front there, and the elastic can go on the back. Now this is a design by Max Flight, and I copied one of his videos, or I copied the design off one of his videos. He shows how to do it, and I'll include a link to that in the description below. And essentially it's a design to stop the rubber from climbing up and coming off when it's fully wound. So a really good idea. So that just goes in there like that. We've then got the prop on, and I mean this prop is woefully too small for the Gypsy. It's a 12-inch prop, and I think on the plans, on the original plans, I was just looking to see if I could find it. I think it's 16-inch or 17-inch. I'm going to try it with this prop, and then I'm going to make my own prop. But I thought we'd give it a go with this and just see how it performed. What I've also done is I've made this little tab, and what I've done is I've drilled a hole in the back. I'm going to glue in a piece of hardwood dowel, sand it off, and then this little tab is for adjusting the thrust. So essentially we're going to screw that to the hardwood dowel like that, and we can alter the thrust angle if I just push this through. And there we go. We can, let's just take this peg out because it's a bit proud at the moment. So there we go. If we have it set normally, then we'll have no thrust at all, but we can adjust it so we have a lot of upward thrust, downward thrust if we need it, and left and right. So that just allows us to have a little bit of control over the thrust rather than packing and making it a little bit unsightly around the edge of the nose block. So I'll get this peg glued in, sanded flush, get that, oh, this is just out of very thin brass. Just drilled it, filed it, and we'll get that fitted. And then what we need to do is start thinking about the rubber motor and making that up. Right, I've now got the nose block finished. You can see we've got the plate on the back for the thrust adjustment. We've got this non-climb hook for the rubber, and we've got the prop on, and it's got a little bit of a bend and a hook on the front of the prop, and so it'll hopefully freewheel. I know it's not a good prop, it's not the best setup that we can have for this, but we'll try it with the prop and how it was in the kit, and then we'll make another setup once we've had a flight with it. But I am dead keen to see how it works with this prop and the difference it makes having a really decent prop. So it's kind of an exercise in just seeing what difference we can make to the flying once we've got it flying with this 12-inch prop. So okay then, I mean, to be honest, it's not a bad prop. It's very light. It's nice. I need to just make sure that it's balanced, because I think it's a little bit out of balance. But anyway, let's make up that rubber motor and we can see how it works. Right, well, it's time to start making up the rubber motor, and I'm on quite a steep learning curve here because it must be 45 years since I've made up a rubber motor. It's been a while, and so to be honest, it's like a black art. I've read so much recently and watched YouTube videos, because like I say, I'm on a steep learning curve, and there are so many different views about how to braid it, what to use as lubricant, how to run it in, just how to secure it. So anyway, what I've decided to do is to, with the motor, follow the instructions on the original Keil Kraft building plans from 1949, and in that they talk about 1/4 inch rubber, which I've got here, and having 12 yards, starting off with a 12-yard loop of 1/4 inch rubber. So I've measured out 12 yards to here. I'm going to tie the two ends together and I'm going to put it in this bag and just put in a few drops of this Dow Corning silicone oil. And I got the rubber and the lubricant from, again, Mike Woodhouse at Free Flight Supplies. So you don't want to put too much oil in because it will fly around inside your model and destroy the model with time because of the oil soaking into the balsa. So you just need enough to get this well lubricated. Once I've got that into one big loop, I need to divide it into 3. So we've got 6 strands, and then we can use that to braid it. So I will get this loop together first and get it well lubricated, and then we'll have a look at making up the motor. Like I say, I will go strictly to the letter for the plan to the original 1949 plans. And I mean, this rubber, it's not expensive, so if I decide that there should be a different type of motor or I haven't done it quite right, it's no big deal. It's a learning curve. Right, well, I've got my lubricated rubber now, so we'll have a go at braiding this. Now I need, it's a 12-yard long made into a loop, right, knotted. So it should be 6 yards long. Now what I've got to do is try and do this without getting it on the floor and getting it dirty, because the last thing we want to do is get this covered in grit. So I may disappear out of the workshop door, and I may edit some of this just to take out me fiddling around, but I've got, okay, so let's put the other end on here. There we go. So now we've got 2 loops to manage this. So what I'm going to do now is just fiddle around with this until I've got it into 3 loops, so it's 6 strands essentially. Okay, so we can see I've used the door handle and that bit of nice soft aluminium tube or smooth aluminium tube, and I've got my 3 loops. I've tried to get them as even as possible, and hopefully the knot is more or less in the centre, so that it will end up down the bottom end, I believe, when we've finished with this. So what I need to do now is put on 150 clockwise rotations. That's what it says on the instructions, and I've actually made myself a decent loop now, which I'm quite pleased with. So we'll put in 150 winds, disappearing out the door again. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 100, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So now we've got 150 winds in that, and we need to just make sure this looks nice and smooth. It's not bunched up or anything. Just pull that out a little bit. And now for the fun part, what I need to do is essentially put the, as you can see, I've never done this before, so now I need to transfer these 2 ends, get my finger in there, whoa, nice and tightly. We'll get that onto there, and now we need to transfer both these on to the prop. So we'll do the easy one first, shall we? No, I'll tell you what, let's do the harder one first, which I think is the one on the winder. Oh no, that's okay. Right, so we've got both these now on my fingers, and we'll get them all onto one finger. We'll transfer them carefully onto the prop, and now before we let this go and wind this, we'll just make sure that this is all balanced, even. There's no more on one side than on the other. Like I say, if you're watching this and cringing, leave me a comment, but please be gentle. Anyway, let's see how this goes. So now this should braid itself. There we go. So now, and that is looking quite nice. There's no awkward bits, big knots, and we could just smooth it out. Ah, that looks nice. So what we need to do now is get a peg in there, and again, being really careful. Let me peg over here. Right. Okay, so I have got this, I don't know whether I showed you this, but I've got this piece of tubing I made up, which has got flared ends, and I am going to put that in to this end here, and then secure it with an elastic band. There we go. So I need to put an elastic band nice and tight around that end just to keep it secure. I also need to do an elastic band around this end so that I can get it on and off the motor. I may change this setup, I'll see how it works, but I'm going to put it in here for the moment. I don't really want to put it down on my bench. I did clean my bench before doing this, and I'll put it on that clean towel. So I will get this the elastic bands on, and then we'll get it set up in this setup I've got here, which essentially is the same distance as, I don't know whether you can see the model, no you can't, as the Gypsy rear peg and the front, and we'll see how it works. You can see now I've got the braided motor set up in the test stand, and you can see that it's roughly the distance between the rear peg and the front block on the Gypsy. Now, when I first braided it, it was a little bit longer, and I had a look at the instructions, and it essentially said it should be the same length. And so I braided it again, but didn't put quite as much tension, and it came out much shorter. So this is what we've got now, and I've been reading this Rubber Powered Model Aeroplanes by Don Ross, and I found it quite an interesting and useful book, and specifically they talk in there about how to run the motor in, and I followed the instructions in that, which is essentially stretching it and lubing it for a certain amount of time and then letting it relax. So hopefully this motor is now ready to be used. So we'll have a go, and we'll see how it performs. I've got a little bit of aluminium tube in the front here that has got no burrs on. It's lovely and smooth, and I found that is helpful in threading the prop on and the winder on when I need to, because I can put the end of the prop wire into this aluminium tube and just slide it out. So hopefully now, if we just slide the hook in, there we go. I'm not going to wind this too much because I haven't really got the distance in the workshop to stretch it out, but we'll have a go and see. We'll probably put about 300 or 400 winds on it perhaps. So just check that at 0, 1, 2, 5, 6. Okay, that's 350 winds, so let's go up to 400. Okay, we're on 400 winds now, and that seemed like it would have plenty of winding capacity still to go on. I've worked out, looking at tables, for the amount of rubber I've used and the length of it, and it seems to suggest I should be getting about 900, 1,000 or even more winds on it, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But let's get this prop on it. So now to do this, if I take hold of the aluminium tube, as I said, I can take out the hook. I can then thread in my piece, let's just make sure that's sliding out a bit, thread in my hook on the back of the prop, and then we should be able to just slide the rubber over that. There we go, and that's done that nice and safely, and actually that was quite easy really. So what I'm going to do, I've got a rubber band here now, and I'm just going to slide this up to the hook just to make sure that it doesn't climb up or come off, and just so it's nice and secure. And we'll see how this runs. Like I say, this is, what was it, 400 winds. So we'll put the block in. As I said, I am a real newbie with this. I'm on a steep learning curve, and I'm looking forward to doing some more flying over the summer season with people using rubber and learning a lot more myself. So I haven't given a lot of details, a lot of facts of what I think, or this is how it should be done, because essentially I don't want to be giving out information which isn't right or is a bit suspect. And I think I said earlier, everybody seems to have different views. Right, so it's just come up to 12, I'm just looking at the clock, I'll just wait for it to be on the 2 and we'll see how long it goes. Okay, so, and it still stayed taut, so hopefully we'll keep our CG, and that lasted for about 20 seconds. And to be honest, I think I've said before, the prop is woefully too small. It should be a 17-inch prop, not this 12-inch prop that is supplied with the Rip Max kit. So that should make a huge difference. So I mean, I would have thought that would hopefully double the time. And if we can get more winds on there, we should be able to get a motor run of at least over a minute anyway. But we'll see. And I will do some videos showing how this performs in the air, how it works. So glad to get the motor done now. Like I say, it's been a bit of a learning curve, and it's nice to get the nose block done and the prop. So I think in the next video we need to start thinking about trying to pull all this together, and I think maybe starting to do a little bit more covering. But anyway, I hope you found this video useful and interesting, and if you've got any suggestions on things I should be doing in relation to this motor, then please just drop me a message and let me know. I'll be really interested in your opinion. But be kind, I'm on a learning curve. Okay, well thanks very much for watching.